Welcome, everyone, to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Pete. Great to be here. And today I'm super excited because we have a practitioner friend to introduce, Amy Travis. So, Amy, do you want to introduce yourself? And can't wait to talk to you about AI stuff.
Yeah. So I'm Amy Travis, and I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. I have lived here my whole life, involved in the local payroll chapter, actually president-elect, have been doing payroll for about 20 years. I came from the bottom, rose to the top, and have just, currently I'm in a senior manager role at West Rock, Smurfit West Rock, and just enjoying meeting all of the people there. I just joined that company about 2 months ago. So as we all know in the payroll world, 2 months feels like 2 years. So it's been a lot of fun dissecting everything and seeing where I can help out. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Fellow ATLian, glad to have you.
Yeah.
And shout out to Ainsley and her team. It's a great chapter, right?
Yes.
So yeah, excited for you. Take the reins.
Yeah, for sure.
A little nervous, but it's okay.
Yes.
Fun. Good fun. And that Atlanta group is really kicking it. I mean,
the best.
They're super
the best.
active,
They have all the awards.
So
they have all the accolades to prove it too.
It makes me want to be an Atlantean, but alas.
An ATLian. You can come. You can be on. You're here often. You have clients.
Yeah, I do.
We'll accept.
The only thing
take
is,
you.
Don't call it Hotlanta. That's not a thing.
Okay, that's not a thing.
Not anymore.
All right, good to know.
That was the 90s. Yeah.
Good to know. Probably, there's probably more than a few jokes by now about that, right?
The big peach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Amy, we love to start with how you got into payroll and, ultimately then why you stay. But everybody seems to have some kind of a screwy path to getting here. So what's your
It's almost like it's almost like you need to start asking people, what's wrong with you that you, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause it starts in some, not directed way that they landed there. So we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, tell us.
So my story starts at a Sonny's barbecue on Cheshire Bridge Road in Atlanta.
Okay.
There you go, food.
So I was working at the restaurant. One of the district managers comes up to me and says, "What would you do if you never had to butter another piece of garlic bread in your life?" And I was like, "Sign me up." So what had happened is that our corporate office, so I had worked for a group that had owned Golden Corral and Sonny's Barbecue at the time. And they had a wage audit where they weren't paying overtime on their tips. And they weren't including that in the regular rate of pay. So I actually came in and started keying for them at this group, manually keying in Microsoft Dynamics. This is like 2004. Wow. And so I guess they liked my data entry skills. And they were like, "Hey, so do you want to join the payroll team?" And so that's kind of where it started. And so I went from doing just data entry back in the day, and had a really, really good run at another company where I was went all the way up to payroll director. And so I guess during that time, I just realized that the way my mind works and how I can retain information and compliance and tax and, do the research and the digging and stuff like that, it just kind of, it kept me because there's just never a dull moment. And it's funny, I thrive in chaos, and I feel like, we don't want payroll to be chaos, but it is. And so that's kind of what made me stay. But it's been a lot. And, like I mentioned the chapter before, getting involved with them, getting my CPP, it reiterated the love for payroll and now giving back to the community.
Once you're in, you can't get out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good though.
One of my favorite things is just pouring what I know into other people.
It's a very common answer, though, about the challenges and the problem solving and all of that. I think it keeps people stimulated, right? I mean, it's not. Yep. It is the same every day, but it's not the same thing every day. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Well, good to have you. We appreciate your service.
Having chaos thrust upon you is not something everybody enjoys. So there have to be some of us out there.
Or sticks around for the abuse.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, Amy, we had a chance to have some conversation the other day, and I just really thoroughly enjoyed talking to you about some of the ways that you've been incorporating AI into your daily productivity, right? It wasn't like a certain payroll, use of it or something else, but it was really clear, easily clear to me that you've kind of embraced it and been messing around with it. And there's so much for me and for others to learn about that. So I wanted to give that a little bit of a dig and just kind of see, like where did that come from? How did you start? What first tickled your fancy or got you interested in checking something out, and where'd you start?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think this was about a couple years ago or so. I, had found that people were doing these, like, it wasn't just ChatGPT, people were doing these off apps, where, you could use the service, but in a different way. And there was someone in Texas that had developed an application where you could actually just text to the AI server, and so that's where it kind of started in my personal life, right? So I would be texting to what was my personal assistant, help me plan the menu for next week. I have 4 kids, full-time job. So if I can say, hey, my kids like this, blah, blah, blah. And I just was so interested in the fact that people could chat with these bots and get it to a level where the bot knew them and what their needs were and what they needed, to where, like, I could explain, like, hey, my kids like this, my kids don't like this. And so that's where I started, was just playing around. And then I realized, so I was working for a company, and we did a pilot. And so that's when, Microsoft Copilot was coming out, and trying to get integrated in that. And, it really piqued my interest, like on the data integrity, making sure that you have a license, making sure you're not putting hot data into, just like a regular web server. And so that's something that I always kind of preach. Like, if you're on Copilot, make sure that you're on work and not web.
Yeah.
So doing the Copilot really helped me get into, like, oh, this is what I can do in payroll.
I just want to touch on that just a little bit, because I think a lot of people recognize that you don't necessarily want to be on wide open when you start
Hmm.
messing around with AI, but how do you know if you're on a work, something that is
Commercially
ring
available,
fenced
or
around,
yeah.
yeah, or if
Yeah.
you're just like out there in the wide open? How did you even find out or know? Did you have
Yeah.
to
So,
ask
and,
work or?
I would have never played with it on a work level, but I was with a company that had actually built out their own chat bot. And
Awesome.
so we knew it was data integrity. We knew everything was good. So that one was outside of Microsoft Copilot. They had actually built their own. And what was really cool about that was that, there were company specific questions that you could ask and get answers. And even today with the company that I'm at, I know that we had the conversation where I was like, wait, where's my AI? But just through digging and finding that there was a co-pilot, like a co-pilot pilot, I was able to like very quickly. I've only been with the company 2 months, and I think probably in my second week I was dying. So I found that there was a pilot, and I think that that's one of the biggest probably things that I can say to anybody is, if you're with a company, especially a big company, and it could be a small company, if you don't have access to AI yet, or you don't have Copilot, or you don't know if it's out there, do some digging, do some research. Somebody in IT can help you, and you never know. Like, they could be doing a pilot program, and in my case, they were so excited because I was in the HR space, that they had some upcoming series and stuff like that where they wanted my input.
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with executives about innovation over this, not just this podcast, but the Daily Pay, the Source podcast, and obviously in my travels. And one of the things I find is that especially in bigger companies, the HR organizations and the finance organizations are getting the opportunity, I think, a better opportunity to have the organization had already done some front end work, whether it was a chatbot or something on their product side. And those learnings were now being sort of transferred versus them being the tip of the spear, which I think can then be, you know, all the pressure's on, right? Where now it's like, well, we've learned some things, we've made some investments. Let us see if we can help you and your team. So it's good that you have that forward innovation available.
Yeah, and that's where the agents come in,
Not
where
everybody has it.
you can start building an agent and have your policies uploaded.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's really helpful work. Just taking the simple FAQ items and throwing them into that bot for the employees too.
Hey there, payroll pros, leaders, and stakeholders. Pete Tiliakis here with some exciting news. The second annual Payroll Profession Confidence Index Survey is now live. Last year, the PPCI reached and amplified the voices of payroll experts from 28 countries across 5 continents, and this year we're taking it to a whole other level. The PPCI is groundbreaking research designed by payroll, for payroll, and aims to share your sentiment, impact, and insights to help shape the future of the critical profession. The PPCI is 100% unsponsored, completely anonymous, and takes less than 10 minutes, and is open now through March 30th. So don't miss this chance to impact the future of the payroll profession. Head over to payrollinfluences.com/PPCI today to join the research, and please be sure to share this with your network. Let's make sure every payroll voice is heard. Results drop May 2025 at payrollinfluences.com. Any sort of key use cases that like right away you were sort of identifying, or maybe what's the path that you went to identifying those in the first place, and then sort of how you rolled this out?
Yeah. So with my last company, it was a lot more. And so I say that because I'll probably reference that more, because that was, I was there for a couple of years and very heavily involved in trying to get this rolled out, and worked with the HRIS team. And so that was our big project, was getting these agents set up so that we could have that self-service. Because we're in the age of self-service, right? Like, we want the employees to go out, view their own paychecks, update their own taxes, and why not also give them an opportunity to comb through the policies in an efficient and quick manner. And so
in the flow
just
too.
uploading those policies, uploading sometimes SOPs, we would just get all that in there. And that was kind of our use case, was developing that, seeing if it would work, asking it questions to see if the data that comes back is accurate. That was one of the big things, was testing, because obviously you can load all that stuff in, but if it doesn't answer in the right way, and that's something that I think that a lot of people don't know, is that AI will tell you what you want it to tell you.
Yeah.
You can convince it some things.
I feel like it makes everybody a fact checker, right? Like, if you're going to use it, the whole idea is it augments your work, but then that pushes you to say, well, I'm the gatekeeper here, and I have to be the one to say, does this even make any sense? Or am I just getting a compilation of data and it's convenient for me to just take it and move on?
Yeah.
Right.
I had a conversation yesterday with a senior payroll leader in a mid-market, fast-growing organization, and this is one of the areas they really want to lean into with Workday, is pushing in on the self-explaining pay slips so that they can reduce that first point of contact. And I think maybe not everybody, but most of the generations now expect that they want on demand, right? It's not just mobile. It's like, hey, what else you got? They're not interested in calling someone, so it's just have to, right?
I want to ask you a detail about that, Amy. When you started on the agent stuff and just kind of looking at uploading policies and so forth, were you leaning into the capabilities of an existing strategic tool that you were using? So I know folks that have done similar things, but they're doing it around capabilities in Zendesk or Workday or ServiceNow or whatever it is, right? So were you leaning into something that was already part of your technology environment?
So I was not involved directly in that. I do know that they were leaning, to any of the data that they could pull from anywhere, but the specific areas, I don't know. I haven't gotten into, like you mentioned, Workday, and I know that they have, some really big AI capabilities that's like outside of what we're kind of talking about. Like, so that's what people have to understand, that AI is different. Like, there's robotics, there's generative, there's machine.
Spectrum.
Like it's it's a lot of different
I
things.
need to
And
pop
so
up my
when you're
slide.
so when you're talking, you have to kind of know which lane you're in. And
Yeah.
with Workday, I think they're doing a lot of great work where they're analyzing data, like just pulling in a time file, recognizing anomalies. That's a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
But when you're developing these agents, being able to have as many resources as you can and as many use cases and as many like life experiences, this is what has already happened, like the more data you put into it, the more knowledge, the better it's going to serve.
Yeah, clean data too. Like, I mean, readiness, right? I mean, did you guys have to do any sort of readiness for that to make sure that your
Mhm.
data was?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, you've got to
that's a
make
huge
sure that you
part.
have clean policies,
Yeah,
your SOPs, and all of that.
that's something I'm not sure everybody gets. Julie, is the
Yeah.
part that you need to sort of, there needs to be an AI readiness. I mean, just like we were talking change readiness the other day with Steve.
Yep.
Same thing with, I think you got to get your data ready, you got to get your organization
Mhm.
ready, your processes ready.
Yep.
And you can't just turn it over to the bots, right? You've got to have that check and balance, that smell test, as I
Yeah.
call it. So
Yeah.
emotional intelligence will always win.
Yeah, and that goes back to, this beast has been learning from the gazillion prompts that we've been giving it on a day-to-day basis. And so, with learning like that, if you want to take it apart and put it into something specific to you, you have to retrain it. Like it knows what it knows, but it has to know your
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So did you run into when you were working with that and like actively putting out all this, the source and then trying to do that training, one of the lessons we hear a lot is you can't train it by trying to break it. You have to train it by, like pointing it in the right
Correcting
direction. So
it. Yeah.
how did you deal with that? Like what happened when you were looking at trying to harden it?
Yeah, I do that on a daily basis just when I'm, using it day to day, not even in like a project like that. But that's something that's really important is that when you get an answer, if you don't reiterate what you were trying to say or point it in the right direction, like you said, then it's just going to say, okay, you liked it. I'm going to just do that from now on.
Yeah.
And that's
Prompting's
where,
a skill.
Yeah.
all that learning, you have to point it in the right direction. You can't just say, "Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't know." It's like you're teaching a baby.
Yeah. Not everyone's going to prompt as efficiently, right? We all got to learn.
Mhm.
So it's, yeah, you trial and error. I love it. I love, Julie, I use it to try and help with our transcripts, right? To summarize our show and help me with
Mhm.
our
Yeah.
descriptions. Sometimes I organically end up writing all of them, but I think
Mhm.
it's interesting how yeah, I know I'm not using AI the right way. I feel like it's soulless too. I don't really like the way it writes, so I kind of end up writing myself. But I like
Mhm.
to see the summary it gives, just to
Yeah.
see like,
Yeah.
did I miss something that I heard or you heard?
Yeah.
So I use it in that way. But you're
Mhm.
right. It's like you got to. I mean, you can't blame the machine if you're not telling it the right
Mhm.
ingredients, right? So yeah,
But Pete, when you're doing that, you're talking
yeah.
about just looking at a piece of text and you're not necessarily within the confines of some specific corporate environment,
No,
right?
yeah, and I'm literally just using my GPT subscription to
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
I like to use it personally for me to summarize things. It's just easier for me to take a long set of notes and then maybe say, hey, I want to get like some points out of that, especially for the show. I'll use it for transcripts. We've even used it over on the source to help us kind of summarize some things, and then I'll write that off of my notes and the thing,
Mhm.
but and their summary. But I think I mean, look, I'm not blaming the machine sometimes for not being great at writing it. It's just, am I prompting it well? It could be me. And that's
Exactly.
so I'm still learning, I guess is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's where you kinda come in and you say and make it sound more human. Like, you can say,
Yeah.
like, "Dumb this down and explain it to me like I'm a five-year-old." Like, it's just some of the
Yeah.
coolest prompts that people don't know that
Yeah.
it's so exciting.
It is fun. It is
How
fun.
about when you've got it and you're training your baby, right? And you have it in
Mhm,
this environment, have you been able to use it to say, you know, how um how do my policies compare to each other? So am I using the same tone across them,
mhm,
or do they all have, six component, like similar
mhm.
components to them, or where are there
Yeah,
gaps in some of the
yeah.
policies versus our template or something like that?
And I think that's a very good question, because I think that there are people who will play around with it, get stuck, and give up, because this goes back to giving it the right information. There are not like, so your free subscriptions, not everything will allow you to upload files.
Right.
If you are in that space where you can upload files, you have to upload the right files. And so there's still a lot to come for, uploading a file and saying, hey, can you look at this? Can you do this? Can you do that? We haven't gotten there yet. So it's more so like what you're explaining, tell me if I did this right, or tell me if this sounds right.
Yeah. Or
Or
summarize something. Yeah.
yeah, it hasn't really gotten to the capability where it can actually, in that sense, unless you're in the actual application, like Outlook, for instance, or Excel, or anything like that, any of the Microsoft 365 products. But yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can say with that, and then with that question, is, if you are out there and you do want to play with it and you do want to upload files and it doesn't give you what you want, take a step back.
Yeah.
Maybe go online. Like I swear by YouTube. Like, thank goodness for its invention, because
Yes.
I could do anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I'm an expert in everything.
Yeah. I need to change a tire. Okay, here you go. Yeah. That's, yeah. No, I'm the
Yeah,
same. I'm the
like one
same.
time I didn't want to take my 2-year-old to the ER, so I learned how to fix. I think it's called like nursemaid's elbow, where
Yes.
I'd fold her elbow out. And
My kids
so
have
like,
that.
and that's the thing. Like, go to YouTube. Like, find a video on how do I load files into AI and tell it what I want. Like, use your resources. Don't give up.
How much does on the back end of, say, testing, right, and working with it, does it make you change your processes or change your behaviors that maybe you didn't realize were, like, I'm just thinking from a process improvement perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Does that part of sort of the back end outcomes when you're working with them?
I haven't really run across that.
Yeah, you're more speeding up processes, making more efficient that way. Yeah.
It was more like trying to get them the right answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You're talking inquiries again. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get to the trainer, I'm thinking like of your instance where you're trying to tell it, no, well, I need to close the loop and kind of tell it what the best answer was, right? If I'm going to try to train my baby.
And be kind,
in
because they may come for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Situation.
Like, literally, I'm the person that says to AI, could you please?
Me too. My wife's like, why are you thanking her? I'm like, because she's like, she doesn't hear you. And I'm like, yes, she does. I don't know if it's a she. I'm gendering her now, but it sounds like a woman. Amazon Alexa sounds. She'll probably wake up here.
So how do you close that loop at the end when you've gotten to a certain point? Or like, let's take Pete, where he uses it to a certain point and then he's like, okay, yeah, but I like this better.
I write
you
better.
Then put in the final thing and you say, hey, for your information, like this is the best, like this would be the best output for the future, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, probably doesn't help you, Pete, if you're using just like public chat GPT and you're not in.
Well, I have my own license. I don't know if that's private, but I have my own license. Yeah. If I do write something though, I have tried this. I have said, hey, tell me if I could improve, improve this, and it'll rewrite it. But I've never come away and been like, oh, that's so much better. Like, I have gotten some words, some phrases to maybe, or rearrange things in a way that gave me ideas, especially with titles. Sometimes when I'm struggling with a title, I'll throw 3 in there and go, tell me what you think, right? Like, just for something to bounce off of. And sometimes it'll shuffle it in a way that I didn't even imagine. And I wouldn't say I've ever come away with a ChatGPT title pure, but I've had certainly some nudges that helped me, gave me. So it's almost like a springboard for me, like someone to sound off on and say, hey, what do you think? Like, test. True. It's like a test environment for me, really.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to the point of trusting it to entirely do things for me. I mean, analyze this, summarize that. Like yesterday, I have a friend. He's struggling with a class action suit he was a member of, and he's entitled to some benefits. And it's this long thing. And I was like, I just don't even. So I put it in and just said, can you tell me about this case? Like, what is it? Why? All that. And it gave me enough to go and look at some of the other things that just speeded up the time immensely. Yep. So that I think is great. What I love.
But then you feel like you're putting that in a safe enough place, Pete. When you're
it's a public case. It's not. Oh, for me personally, I mean, I'm only writing like I'm talking about when I write a summary of a podcast. I would never put any of my proprietary client details or anything, but putting in a summary of a transcript of our conversation and then saying, summarize this for me. What are the highlights? It's more like notes that I then take and use to write my own outline or whatever, or description. But the summarization is happening instantly, by AI taking all that information and just in minutes giving me, or seconds giving me back, 5 points of what we talked about. And sometimes there are things I miss. I was like, oh, I didn't, I knew we talked about that, but I didn't think of it in that angle. And it does give me that. So in that way, I'm augmenting myself, but I'm not putting any sort of proprietary details. I wouldn't suggest doing that. And I don't know. That's a good question, how private it is.
Yeah, that's a really good circle back, because I can't preach this enough. Do not take a file with social security numbers on it and load it into some random
or strategy,
thing.
right? Or IP or anything like that. I've heard of CEOs going out there and putting in their, financials and saying, tell me this. It's like, Yeah. Now I wonder though, when you do license ChatGPT, do you get a private instance of your chats to where your data is not necessarily going? I don't know. I don't know.
Yep.
Got to read those terms of service.
Yeah. So the company that I'm currently at is they've gotten a license to Copilot, which is a part of Microsoft. And that's, that little colorful thing. If you're ever in Bing, that's the search engine that I've used a lot more recently, because it will use AI when you say a search, and it'll come back and actually like comb through data and give you a summary without you even asking it. But yeah, so the company that I'm with now, when you go to the Copilot, and you're in it because they use SharePoint, and so you can kind of see like the box around it that it's that you're in a secure place, and that's why there's that tab for work and the tab for web. And with the homegrown one that we had at my last company, there was a personal tab. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you don't want to put you don't want to ask personal questions in work, and you don't want to ask work questions in personal. So you just have to make sure that you know the difference.
I love that about the Zoho browser. I don't know if you've seen, I can never remember the name of it, but it does it's got a personal portal and a work portal. So you can be in two different worlds inside the same browser. I'm not sure the others do that. You got to have different profiles. But that's the same. Yeah, you're right. You don't want to mix those things.
Yeah. And the other thing too, is that if you're in your work profile, and you're in, we'll use Copilot for a reference. If you're in there and you type in stuff and it's been already pointed back to policies and stuff like that, like, so we use PeopleSoft. So I can say, I need directions on how to do this in PeopleSoft, and it's coming through Teams. It's coming through my notes, my to-dos, my, like, everything that you have uploaded in Microsoft, and it will bring back, and it'll tell you, and then it'll say, I noticed that you talk to this coworker a lot. Why don't you go to them and ask some more questions? So it's like, it's from 2 years ago, and
that's
then
borderline
now
creepy.
it has gotten so crazy. And so that's why I say like the work and web, because sometimes I'm like, okay, wait, like I actually want to know, like, about special accounting rule. Like, I don't want to know what my company thinks about it. So that's another thing that's kind of happening.
So when you're loading policies, right, into let's assume it's, I don't know if it's safe to assume it's the company Bing, Bing Copilot. Do you have to tell it and help it compartmentalize what that is, or are you just like, hey, here's another policy. This one applies to XYZ type of people and situation. Up it goes.
So the crazy thing about this is that since the Microsoft products are all intertwined, all you have to do is upload it.
The integrated,
Yeah.
I found Microsoft Copilot to be a little bit, it wasn't there for me. I tried to use it early last year, maybe do some slide creation, some data, data charts. It just wasn't there at that time. Do you think it's gotten better?
Yeah. So that's the thing, like, wake up tomorrow morning and it'll be better.
Agreed. I did this very early in the year. I think I'll probably come back to it next year and just maybe play with it a little bit. But again, I like creating slides my own. So
isn't there also a lot? So I was toying with this just last week, maybe, or earlier this week. and just something benign, right? I like to start with really benign things like, okay, I need to pull together some, sales plan for next year. So can you give me a template? Can you create a
Mhm.
template for a good sales plan? And first of all, it took a dang long time to respond to me. Like I had to keep going back and looking, are you still there? Are you working on this? But then at the end, I just got a, kind of poop on you message that said, yeah, I'm not allowed to create any content for you. And that's got to be a corporate
Interesting.
setting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
maybe they didn't
interesting
pay for
because
that.
so I have a scrambled brain, like everything is going on in my brain, right? Like there's like 15 chats. I'm thinking about what happened on April 1st in 1992.
It's like a hurricane.
I'm singing
That's
a
my brain.
song. And so that kind of goes into like what's so awesome about it for me is that I can say what's in my brain, which does not equate on paper, and it will put it into something that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's where you start with policy writing, disciplinary actions, creating, just the everyday stuff that payroll people have to do, and that we have taken so much time, but we don't have time.
Yeah.
And so being able to use it for that, I mean, that's a life changer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Audits, compliance, everything.
So what happens when somebody takes your partially or mostly trained baby away, Amy? You find that you're like starting with a new little fetus around.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing is that, going to a new company, they do have that integrated with, the Microsoft products and all those policies and whatever you upload. So I haven't had too much trouble with that. We haven't, there hasn't even been any conversation yet at this company about, you know, building an agent specifically for employees to come to. I'm sure that that might be somewhere down the line, but they're very, very early in their early stages. The company I left from, Copilot was integrated in most everybody's PCs. So now where I'm at, and it was Copilot, and there was also their homegrown, like where you could go to the actual website. So it was kind of twofold. But now I just am suckered to Copilot. Um, but I mean, it helps. I mean, and what we've talked about, it's just one of those things that it's so new when you think about it, like just as like earlier this year, but it learns so fast that it's getting better. But there's a lot of like reprompts. You just have to know,
Yeah.
like, hey, you didn't tell me that right. Like, and you can talk to it like a
Yeah.
real
Sharpen.
person.
Well, and I'm wondering, like you were already well on the path to making an agent that could interact with employees, but just like a knowledge base can be a knowledge base
Mm-hmm.
that's only used by the internal shared services or whoever
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
team is, and the employees, like I guess that
Mm-hmm.
could be a baby step, right? Where
Yeah.
you're doing all of that and you're not yet exposing it to your
Mm-hmm.
employees or your managers, but you're trying to do it for your team to help sort
Mm-hmm.
through all the noise, right?
Yeah, and that's where it takes, a company that's on board and willing to apply the licenses and give that opportunity to everybody. A lot of companies haven't started or they're just not there yet. They're piloting it. So it's I feel kind of bad because I snuck myself in. Very early. I was like, I can't live without this.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't say to, my coworker or even my direct report, like, hey, use it this way because they don't have access. So it's like
Yeah.
there's that too.
So there is a licensing bit, right? I mean, like not only does your company have to have their own, environment for it
Hmm.
that makes it the company or the corporate environment, but they also have to ascribe to licenses to the people that
Hmm.
they expect will be using it.
Do you think your company's culture is different in a way that is more innovative leaning than some of your peers? Because I certainly see that where it's like they're very much on the forward edge, where some of the companies are just like still on PeopleSoft maybe or not on the cloud, let's say, or some of these other things. Like, do you think that has played a role in having access to it at all?
There's a difference between, being in a completely corporate environment
Yeah.
and then like the payroll that I've always done where I've always had sites, right? So you have these sites and they don't really like some people don't even have like cell phone like smartphones.
Yeah.
Um
They're front
and
line.
so Yeah, like, or even use computers. And so that's a very fine line between like who needs it and who doesn't. So it's like, yeah, do you take the energy to build all of this out for someone who isn't even going to use it? So you have to know your
Yeah.
audience. That's a very good point.
The use cases too, I think
Hmm.
are going to help dictate that too, because if it's
Yeah.
painful for folks and it's going to make it easier, people were going to much likely more
Hmm.
lean into that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think a lot of people realize how expensive AI is, not just to your
Yeah.
company, but to the environment,
Yeah.
to
How
just
much
like,
power it
I
draws,
mean,
right?
it's
Like,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah. And the
It's really
data
insane, and
centers,
so
right?
that's why you want to be cognizant and you want to be mindful. You know, you could put in prompts just for fun all day, but you know, when you get into like ChatGPT 4, where it's a little bit more intelligent, like
Yeah.
you also have to be mindful, and that's why the companies are, you know, still at that stage where they're gauging, you know, is this worth the money and the
Yeah.
resources
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I tweeted and I don't remember the source, but you guys can find it out there. I put it on X. There was I actually think I got it from the guys at Cohen. It's a chart that shows um, the cost savings and the revenue impact. Now I can't remember how they calculate that revenue impact, and I think I think human resources was like a 40% cost savings, 60% revenue impact, and they had it for all of the back office. Julie, if you can scroll through that, you'll find it. There's finance, all different parts. But I thought that was interesting, like what it's costing them, but then what they're getting back. And I don't remember how the revenue, maybe it's per employee or something, I don't know, or per investment, per project, I don't know. But it was interesting to see that they had that, and I thought it was pretty positive for it seemed for
Yeah.
HR. So yeah, but you're right, it is expensive.
Like you think about labor hours and stuff like that, like you can't even
Yeah.
calculate and trying to put it on paper. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
yeah,
But at
yeah,
some point, all of that gets sharpened and these things are running really smoothly. Now you're talking about efficiencies that go flip the other way, where now you're saving immense time and immense resources and people are able to do more value added work. That's what I think, the gold in all this is, right? You got to do a little bit of work to get there, right? Chipping through the rock to get to the gold, but it's there.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So having already been an early pioneer in this, Amy, like where would your heart, I know you might have to re-pioneer some things here as you made a change
Repioneer.
from one family of baby to another, but where would, like, what really gets you excited? Like where do you think, like, if you just had all the time and you could pull these things out of your brain and grab a couple that you're just itching to think about, where would you go with it?
Yeah, the thing that most piques my interest is the involvement of integrating into our payroll systems. I think about exception reporting and the amount of time that we spend. Like, not everybody has a product like Cognos where you can bundle a bunch of reports into one. Where we're at now, we can batch our queries that we run, but it's, each individual one. And so just think about a world where, you have these anomalies. Like, I mean, payroll errors, that's like something that we never want, right? Like, we never want it to be our fault, and we want to catch the things, but then we don't know the things. And like, imagine a world where you've used it enough or you've trained it enough where it knows what to expect or what isn't right, and things like that. I mean, that's like my big brain.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be so cool?
That it feels like that would be a major shift, right? Like when you're talking about policies and agents, you're talking about a lot of word language, right?
Hmm.
And it feels like
I just switched.
tackling, yeah, yeah. It feels like tackling exception, and identification becomes much more
Yeah,
spreadsheet
that's robotic.
numerical types of
Hmm.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
um and who knows how it would treat that. And if there's AI ways to do that, there
Hmm.
certainly are, versus robotic process automation, which you're talking
Hmm.
about. But different tools for different purposes. And I think, I wonder all the time, just even when I was fiddling around with the sales stuff, like, what if I tell it, like, here's the grid of where, how I think I'm going to break this down and achieve this. If I put that in there, will it know anything smart about it or not? Right. I mean, or is it just, it really doesn't know what to do with it?
Do you know what I think is going to be really, really exciting for HR, especially, and absolutely for payroll, right, is agentic AI, right? The ability for agents and co-pilots co-pilots really assisting you, and agents actually going and doing the work for you. If you've got multiple agents out there, right? Think about it, right? Any process, payroll's got 100 checklists. HR's got a checklist. Recruiting's got a checklist, right? On and on and on down the line, operations and whatever. And a lot of those things overlap and touch each other. And some of those things are in the same system. Sometimes you're all on the same ERP. Most of the time you're not, especially as you get a bigger company. What I'm excited for is seeing those agents start to talk to other agents and doing that checklist to checklist handoff that's making sure these processes, like we talk about and beat up leave of absence all the time, all the handoffs. But there's many of those, right? Benefits, you think about onboarding, right? Just the onboarding experience. There's someone in HR involved from recruiting all the way through in the onboarding experience. Everybody's sort of being touched, right? So all of that needs to be woven together. And I think that's the agentic AI is really what's exciting, because now you're talking about eliminating those checklists, stringing together processes, and really, really changing the value proposition in that experience.
Having time to get up and take a lunch.
Yes, right. You can take, payroll can take Christmas off. Everybody's exhausted. Everybody I'm talking to right now in payroll, I never forget this, but I've lived it. Is everyone's exhausted right now because it's and we still are we're just starting the beginning of really year end. If you think about what
Amy,
we still have to go.
You can innovate your way to an anniversary dinner.
Yes,
because she was telling me before she really knew what it meant to work in payroll, that December 30th is not the best time to try to celebrate anything.
Man, I've missed a lot of things. Yeah.
I got married at year end. I don't know.
It's what you sign up for, I think, in this game, right? You're the people who got to keep the lights on, right? Someone's got to do it. So
yeah. And then in the spirit of year end, like, how cool would it be to have a system that was so intuitive that you go to enter a negative deduction on an adjustment or a check or something, and a box pops up and says, "Hey, wait! If you do this, your W-2 won't produce," or something like that. Like, I mean, it seems so tiny, but
or how about the ability? I mean, if you think about it, really, you're almost having to conduct year end every quarter, right? If you could,
100%.
At some scale, conduct it in a way that has the AI again, I think very agentic, going across all these things. And you're right, it's nudging you and surfacing things to you in the quarter or in the month and in the moment to say, fix this so you don't have that big mess at the end that we're all ticking and tying. So
so it's not just taking our jobs. It's I mean, I look at it as making our jobs better.
Yeah. So those things make me just think, well, should it be coming from, initiatives or centers of interest like you're creating, Amy, that are trying to train and create something that will think about this? Or is this really what the payroll provider should be creating and embedding inside of their tools, if they even can, right? If they're subject to their own work environment or their own, universe of
they are sure playing around with it.
Language. Yeah.
That's where your analytics come from.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, but will they get there fast enough? Will they, have enough data in their own walls to be able to do a good job of that? And it might actually impact how you put together your service delivery model and what things are important to integrate and not integrate, and keep within the same system, and what things are not, because there are limitations if you're bouncing out to other universes, right?
Yeah, I think everybody in the payroll world, especially in the systems world, is just sitting back waiting. Who's going to get there first?
Oh my God.
That's a good point, actually. Would you have any advice to anyone? I feel like this is as much a bottoms up sort of thing as it is a top down, meaning like, don't wait for them to just drop AI on you or go get AI. Maybe there's a bottom up piece to this. Like, any advice to other payroll leaders out there that kind of want to nudge their organizations to be a little bit more innovative and engage these things?
Yeah, I would say start with your technology officer or somebody in that space, because it could be applications, it could be product, it could be, maybe somebody on the help desk that's just interested in getting it started. But you definitely want to start in that technology space and, just say, hey, like, I think that this would be really, really awesome for us. And the thing about executives is that you really have to build that business case. And
data.
where you were talking about the article on X and saying, this is the cost savings and the revenue and stuff like that. I mean, it's finding those things that you can reference back to, and that you can really, you really have to plead your case at that point.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about using your data and making cases, and I think you're right. If you can show, look, this action would move this investment in this use case would move the needle by this, it changes the game, right? People start looking at that, especially if there's dollars tied to it.
People are motivated by money. Show them while they're saving money,
especially C-suite.
And from a cost center, right? I mean, payroll is a cost. If you at the end of the day, it should be returning value, but fundamentally they want to save costs. I mean, this is how you do it, right? Start knocking down that leakage time, whatever.
And that makes me think, like, what if this world that we're in now, and this AI and these capabilities, what if we could prove, that we do have value? I think that's been something that we've been talking about a lot lately in the payroll world, is finding that seat at the table. Like, what if at the end of this, we aren't a cost anymore? Like, obviously we do create a cost, but us as people aren't a cost.
No, you should be an agility enabler, which is the ultimate ROI that you can give back to the company. And companies that aren't seeing that and investing in payroll are really, I think, at a competitive disadvantage. I actually think I proved that with the Payroll Profession Confidence Index to some extent, that showed just the impact, the max impact. It was really, really visible.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
What if you want to talk about what ifs?
Right?
What if we met payroll with the criticality, like you met the criticality and the importance with the innovation and resources? What could be? I mean, you guys do an amazing job with, one hand tied behind your back. What if you actually had help? What if you, had some Air Jordans and you could, sprint,
Amy just started like 10 projects in her mind in that very moment that you said that, Pete. I could tell.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm very inspiring.
I think about how, we're always being pulled to the next fire, and we never really have time to innovate. And so it's just that innovation that's been sitting in the back of our minds that we know will make it better. We don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. You got to fly the plane and fix it and make it bigger engine on it. So no, I understand.
So it's like always Band-Aids, Band-Aid.
Right.
What if in the world we were able to actually dissect it, take it apart, make it work right?
Yeah. Agreed. What if?
Awesome.
What if?
Oh, well, I know we can think of a lot of things from here out, and I'm sure you have so many more learnings, Amy, and thank you. I feel like we better bundle up this particular podcast episode and then see when we can check back in with you and just talk about whatever new things are hopping out of your brain and into the, into the world of payroll operations, and see where you're at with it.
Yeah. Where can everyone connect with you, Amy? Anywhere links you'd like us to share?
If you just search my name on LinkedIn, that's where I'm most active. I never signed on to the Twitter. I think it was past my time and not part of my needs.
No worries.
I'm
with you. I'm not great about that.
Yeah, you can just search my name on LinkedIn. You'll find me.
Yeah, we'll share your link as well so folks can find you. But thank you so much for coming on. This is great. It's always good to talk to practitioners, listen to your mind, what your lens is, hear what's going on. It's exciting. I'm so excited for payroll right now, all the stuff that's out there. Man, it's long overdue. So
that's
good.
Right. Okay.
Well, look, we are going to wrap this one up. And look, thanks to you again, Amy, Julie. Thanks as always. And thanks to everyone. We'll see you all soon.
Sounds great.